2017, January 22nd. I heard things about the effects of interest rate on inflation, and I want to explain in details how it really is, not the partial explanations which I heard from people thinking that what they say is how it works, and then there are surprises when things don't go the way they predict. So my explanation will also only be partial explanation, but at least you will see how complicated it really is, and it is probably more complicated than what I will explain. So I heard an MMT guy, which if you see this video you might know him. I heard him say that interest rate hike is inflationary because it is a fiscal expansion, because when rates go higher, the government has to pay more to the private sector on new bonds that it issues. This is true, but remember that we live in the era of quantitative easing, when all the world, almost or entirely, I don't know, but I know Japan does QE, Russia recently does QE, America does, the United Kingdom does, Europe does. I don't know if every country does, but China I think also does. So I don't know which country don't do it, but almost all the world does it. So in the era of QE, when the government pays interest on its bonds, part of the interest goes back to itself through the central bank, which bought its bonds. So, and when the government has to pay more to the private sector, but also to the central bank, which is to itself. So if it issues, if it has I don't know, just an example, 1 trillion of debt pending, so it is not that it owes the entire 1 trillion to the private sector. It owns I don't know, suppose half a trillion to the private sector, but and foreign factors, foreign entities too, and half a trillion to itself, almost to itself, through the central bank, which is not really private, not everywhere, at least in the United States it isn't entirely it is partially private, but this is a story in itself. This is again, if you can, you should watch The Hidden Secrets of Money by Mike Maloney. So anyway, and another thing, the interest rate hike only increases the interest payments on new debt issued, not on old debt issued. That debt, on that debt, the state only has to pay the previous rate. So it isn't affected at all by the interest rate hike. So pending debt are not affected at all. New debt is only partially affected because probably part of it will be owned to the central bank, which is mostly to the government itself. Sometimes maybe entirely to the government itself, sometimes mostly to the government itself. So if the rate goes up by suppose 1%, the government doesn't have to pay 1% more on its new debt even. Suppose only half of this 1% more, because the central bank will probably own about half only for the example. It can be more, it can be less than half of the debt, just for making this explanation simpler. So it is somewhat inflationary in this sense. Not big time inflationary, but it is somewhat inflationary. And it also is inflationary maybe in the way that it increases costs, because the cost of credit goes up, like that MMT guy and Peter Schiff, whom is an Austrian School of Economics guy, but actually he admits almost everything that the MMT claims, so it is not really a huge difference. The main difference, well, this may require its own video, but back to the subject. So there is also there was the effect of increasing the payment to the private sector, which is only partially and only on new debt issued. If the government will choose to issue new debt, which it probably will, despite it doesn't have to. But this can be in its own video, because in fiat money system, a government doesn't have to issue debt at all. It can just create the money it needs for itself, and this will be less inflationary than issuing debt and then re-regurgitating it. So it doesn't need to issue debt in our days. Anyway, there is the effect of increase the payment of interest on debt. There is the effect of increase of prices due to increase of the cost of credit. But when foreign entities, but also the public, but mainly foreign entities, because their income is usually not in the currency which got the rate on it raised. So foreign entities may need more money now in order to cover their debt if the interest on it went up. You see, some loans have a fixed rate of interest, so these are not affected by an interest rate hike, but some do have a varying interest rate, which is linked to the said currency's central bank interest. So these debts may now need more of that currency to cover. So the need for that currency is being increased by this action, by this rate hike. So this way it is deflationary and not inflationary. The MMT only looked on the MMT guy, which I usually hear. He forgets about it. He never mentions that foreign entities may need more of that currency in order to pay their debt in that currency. So and that this is deflationary because the demand for this currency goes higher by this. So you see, whether and how much a rate hike is inflationary or deflationary, because it has effects that some of its effects are deflationary and some of its effects are inflationary. So the net effect, the total effect, depends on the composition of lenders and debtors. So it is not you need to know that the market composition in order to in market composition of the debt in order to know whether hiking rate will be inflationary or deflationary. So it is not that simple. You can't just say without knowing anything else. You don't know if a rate hike will increase inflation or decrease inflation. You don't know it. You need more information to know, which is the composition of the market composition of debt. So I hope it helps you understand. And also there are carry trades when entities, people take a loan in a currency with a low rate and invest it in I don't know, maybe bonds, maybe bank accounts of a currency with a higher rate, and this way they make the margin, the difference between the interest rates. They make this as a profit. Of course, foreign exchange currency rates which fluctuate make it not a safe bet, but it can be done anyway. So this is another factor which makes which is deflationary. When the rate goes up, this effect is a deflationary effect. Anyway, bye for now.